CMA, a management accountant, is much more bound by just logic and the science and math. So in a very short, that's a very short representation, but that's what the CMA gives you, the ability to understand and be a consultant within the company. It's a two-part exam. Each part is about 4 hours. You can take them, you don't have to take them all in one day. You can take the parts in different weeks so that you can study for one part and then take time and study for the other part. It costs about $600 to $700 US. Suggested study time is usually about, this is going to be different for every person, but generally they're saying you should study about 90 hours before you take the exam. And that seems reasonable to me, because what you should be doing is finding some study guide, if you want to do it on your own, and go through that guide and take a lot of practice exams. What they are, they're actually exams from old examinations, so they're relevant, and you can take the exam, you can time yourself, you can grade yourself until you start to become more and more comfortable with how much you know and that you're ready. So that's the part that I would really recommend. If you're going to get help, that's another good way to go, to have someone take you through the parts. That would be quicker, probably a little more in depth. It would be more expensive, of course. That's what I mean by a tutor in that case. So yes, it's very comprehensive. It's very demanding. But in the end, I think it's well worth it. As I say in this bottom line, you can add probably $20,000 per year to your salary by having this designation. And that's probably a low number. It may not make that much difference in your first job, but after you've been in for a while and you start to get to know what you're doing, and maybe you go to another job, it'll be at least $20,000 extra per year to your salary to do this. There's about 80,000 members worldwide. That's more than the CPA. The CMA is more global than the CPA is. It's recognized in pretty much all Western countries for sure. So for me, it was the best alternative because I knew that was what I liked to do. Now you go to the next one, the CPA, the Certified Public Accountant. Now this one, at least this is only US. The counterpart in other country would be the CA, which is the Certified Accountant. That's what you would take in the UK and the UK Commonwealth countries. So the CPA in the US, and it certainly would be helpful in other countries too, because they know what this is. They know it's a very, very tough exam. It's a much more difficult exam. The CPA is regarded more highly in the US, not because it's better, it's just more prevalent. It's more worldwide. It's just more used more. Everybody here in the US has heard of a CPA because they do taxes, they do the audits. So it just because it's more popular, it seems to be more highly regarded. Relatively few people know what a CMA is, even though it's more valuable for that type of work. Everybody would know what a CPA is, and they would think it's a higher level certification. In my opinion, it's not, but just because people know it better, it ends up becoming more important for no other good reason than the fact that it is known. What it really does, the only thing a CPA gives you the right to do that the other certifications don't give you is the right to sign an audit, to evaluate whether a company has presented their books fairly. And I'm assuming everybody who's listening knows what an audit is, or you've had auditing. If you have a CPA, you can be the person to sign off on that audit and say it's, it's a qualified opinion or it's an unqualified opinion, etc. That's what the CPA gives you that no other designation, at least in the US, allows for you to do. Like I said earlier, it's mostly for the standard type of financial accounting that you think about or that other people think about, the debits and credits, the financial statements that you have to put out, tax work, that kind of thing. It's for external people. So you're not going to be as involved in the business. I mean, if you audit a business, you have to know things about that business, but you're going to be auditing or doing taxes for many different businesses. Therefore, you never really get deep into any one of those businesses. Whereas a CMA, you would get deep into what that company does and understand what they do and interact with a CMA. You would be able to interact with different departments, on a daily basis or on very big project. With a CPA, you're doing an audit and you're doing their taxes, but you're not really as involved in what the company does as a business as you would be with a CMA. Like I said, it's best known in this country and it's the most prestigious. It's a 4-part exam. So this exam is bigger and more and more demanding than the CMA. 4-part. Each part is 4 hours. You can take this in different weeks. You don't have to take it, in all 4 parts in 2 days. People generally don't do that. It'll cost you certainly more than $1,000 to take this exam. Most people do not pass this exam the first time they do it. The vast majority, I think it's only really about 20% of the people who take this exam pass it the first time they take it. The CMA passing rate is much higher. I don't have that number with me at the moment, but it is much higher. But you can tell by a passing rate like 20%, you can tell how difficult this exam is. By coincidence, I went to the University of Wisconsin, and the University of Wisconsin is known nationally as having the highest passing rate for that exam. They do a very good job of preparing their students to take that exam. So again, it's a bigger exam. It's more demanding. They're recommending 150 to 200 hours of study preparation just for the exam. It'll be multiple choice, essay, and a lot of exercises, problem work, scenarios that you have to answer. So it's a more involved, tougher exam. Again, you can do this on your own with study guides. Becker is the company that is known best known to put out the best study guides for people. Again, it's very similar to what we were talking about in the CMA. It's they'll go through and tell you what you need to know, the sections you need to know, and then you can take practice exams. I'm calling them mock exams in this slide. It's a practice exam. You do the same thing. Or again, you can go and have a tutor to help you with this. And what's probably more recommended to have a tutor, or to have, what you can also do is join a classroom setting that will last 8 or 10 weeks, and you go every week to prepare and study and for this exam. Or you can do all three. You could do the self-study, you could have a tutor, and you could also have this 8-week session if you wanted to do that. A lot of people do all of that just because they're nervous about flunking it, and it's fairly expensive to take the exam. So every time you take the exam, you have to pay again. So anyways, it's as I said earlier, it's the US version of the CA, the chartered accountant that you would see in the UK and UK Commonwealth countries. only recognized in the US. And again, I'm saying here you can add 20,000 plus per year to your salary, probably more than that. I'm being conservative when I say that. I'm using roughly the same number that I use for the CMA, but I think the CPA, because it's just more widely known, would probably add more to your salary than the CMA. And again, which one you